Good day. We are back with another episode of In Our Neighborhood. Once again, we're visiting with Gordon Johnson, our chairperson, school trustee, and my partner in the agency, Janet Duffy. She's going to take us away to kind of lead us down this road of school security and some of the other committee that they have.
There you go. So we had Gordon in earlier and asked him to not leave because there's so much information that we still
Happy to
need
be here.
to share with the community,
Well, thank
right?
you. Yeah.
So, and one of the questions, and it was actually Todd's question, so I think you should ask the question because you know what it is that you're particularly interested in.
So at Rotary, he had explained kind of where some of the COVID funds, he has another name for them and he'll explain that, had went to kind of secure our schools. And I thought it was very impactful to get that word out to the community to know why they may have to look into a camera to enter the school or that type of thing. So I'm going to turn it over to Gordon to kind of explain
thank
that.
you. Well, one of the more unfortunate things that we all endured several years ago was the pandemic.
Right.
And it left a tremendous scar on our society worldwide,
Right.
you know.
And our psyches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, the state and the federal government stepped up to the plate to protect our schools in a manner that would keep them as best we could open and operating. So we received federal funds, the schools did, and I'm talking about nationwide in the United States of America. They're called ESSER funds, and they're Emergency Secondary School Elementary Emergency Relief, something like that, right?
It's got an acronym for it's an acronym. For
yeah, right.
Something really important.
And it came in 3 installments, and 3 pretty good-sized installments, and so those were targeted in helping schools address needs that were associated with the pandemic. One of the things was replacing boilers, antiquated boilers in our school. You may have seen when you've driven by schools in our town that windows have been replaced. And HVAC systems. The cost of cleaning rooms when kids came and left classrooms, they all had to be cleaned.
Right, sanitized.
With a disinfected. We had to double up our school bus routes because the kids couldn't sit next to each other like they
absolutely. Yeah, they had to have that distancing.
Hadn't even thought about that.
And another way that we were able to expend the money in a manner that was really important to us is school safety. And I think I have 2 boys, they're grown men now, but I think like any parent, when you send your kid to school, really, job one is you want your kids in a safe environment. Absolutely. I think that's number one. You want their safety in hand when they walk in those buildings, when they take the bus, when they play on the playgrounds. And 2, you want them to get smart. You want them to become educated.
Active members of the community.
Absolutely. But that safety issue is huge. And so we had areas in which we needed to improve on our safety measures, and one of which was, you know, I think any of us would go to the schools and you just sort of walk in like you own the place, you know, but you can't do that anymore.
It was like a neighborhood.
Right.
Well, they are in many cases neighborhood schools, and but now if you go to a school, you have to ring yourself in. So you go to the door and there's an electronic box and you press the button and you tell them your name and why you're there. They're not standoffish or anything, but they just want to make sure they know who is coming to the building. 1. 2 is that, particularly at the high schools, it was sort of loosey-goosey as to, you know, the back door might be propped open because they're expecting somebody to come late to a practice or something. No more. There's a very stringent policy about keeping all doors locked. 3, and I think this is one of the more important things, is the cost of cameras on each of the 15 elementary buildings, 2 high schools plus an alternative high school, Skyline Center. All of these buildings have cameras not only in the front but around the buildings, and of course those are like any security cameras. Those are taking not film, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, they're keeping track of things.
They are,
right?
they are.
Yeah.
But that's a very important part of how we spent our ESSER money. Now that's a small list.
Sure.
But we spent a lot of, we took care of a lot of issues that we might not have otherwise been able
Right.
to afford.
Well, and that's such a blessing. One of the things that I'm really, like, I was impressed. We had some backpacks to donate, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So we went to Whittier because that's where my kids went to elementary
Yeah.
school, and that's the first time that I've been back to that school with all of the safety, in place, and it was like, wow, this is. I mean, I wish that it would have been there when my kids were there, because as a parent, I would have been like, wow, I feel so much better right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just think it's important for the community to know that you guys were very diligent and good with using those funds for the things that were so needed.
I'm very proud of this district. When we are talking about ESSER funds in 3 different installments, and I think the last installment expires, and we still have some money left in the summer of 2025. But we're talking about millions of dollars. We're talking about $35 million over the course of 3 different phases. And some of the school districts sort of went overboard early on and spent all their money, and now they're going,
What do we do?
what do we do?
Yeah.
Great Falls Public Schools, and I think this is really an accolade to Brian Patrick, who's our business director. We still have some money left, and we still have some things in fact, just yesterday I was at a ribbon cutting at Meadowlark School, where there was 4 additional classrooms.
That's so awesome.
And the ESSER
Absolutely.
money helped pay for that.
Absolutely.
So there's been a lot of positive things that are tangible things that
you
our
can see
citizens can
improvements.
actually see that have taken place.
That is so. I mean, again, what a blessing to have.
Yeah,
It's under horrible circumstances. Nobody ever wants to
No.
experience a pandemic again, but what a blessing.
but we want to, and training, teacher training too.
So we want to hear more about maybe how the school impacts the economy
Well,
here.
Janet, I'll come back and talk with you a little bit more.
Awesome.
It'd be my pleasure.
I think that would be great. So until then, though, we're going to sign off for now.
Thank you.
Keeping our kids safe in schools. Thank you.
Thank you.